Testing. Hey guys. So hopefully everyone could hear me. Hey guys. Welcome. Yeah, hopefully I'm being heard clearly. Yeah. Yeah. So welcome back to the live stream here at TrinFx. Um, it's been a while, right? It's been a while since we had any, you know, live stream. And I apologize for the late start. Really did have some connectivity issues, but that's all resolved now. We're gonna take a look at the markets right now, all right? So I want to look at some of the fundamental data that we do have coming out. All right, let's take a look at the fundamentals what we have coming out right now. Let me just log in here. And we had quite a move yesterday at the official starting of the trading week. We had quite the move, right? We saw quite the move from the US dollar, and then we saw a reversal of that during the day. Right, we did have some fundamental factors coming into play here, such as CPI data for the CHF, which came out this morning, right around 3:30, right? So that was like just a couple of minutes ago. And we do have some other stuff coming out here, such as FOMC data and some other USD data as well, right? And we're now getting started. So the market is deciding on a position or direction to take as we continue along with the trading week, all right? So well, let's see what we have going on. And hopefully I'm being heard clearly. Hopefully everybody's hearing me clearly here, right? Yeah, so let's see what we have going on. Let me just take a look here at the 80 card. Right, we could see at the official starting of the trading week what we had, which was yesterday. Price just dipped down very strongly to the downside here on 80 card, right? At this point, this is where we will see a lot of sellers trying to step in. We hold this other level right here of support. And you can see we started trending from that area, right? Price hit into this area. We had a strong bullish rejection from here, right? We maintained that. And this was something we were looking at yesterday as well. Price started pulling up. We kind of ranged right here. And then we gradually continued pulling higher, right? Overall, on the daily time frame, this is what we saw. And we actually seen this play. Our price came up and filled all the way up to here, these highs. And at this point, we could actually see either some sort of reversal or continuations on the day, right? We could actually come all the way up here, or price could either, just reverse from this area and actually pull down. Now, when it comes to the card AD strength, we are more risk heavy, right? So resentment is a lot more apparent, and therefore we should see some more continuations in favor of the AD. Right, rather than the card itself. This does look like some buy situations that we could possibly get into, right? So on the next area of possibilities of where we can buy into, I would say is if price could just do a retest right here. Right, if we get a strong retest right here, we approach this level, we could see a continuation back up, right? So this is something that has the potentiality to actually play out. As well as on AD USD, same thing, right? It's the same thing right here. Price pulled down at the initial starting of the trading week, right? Which was of yesterday. Came right into this area, right? We came down a little bit. As you see on the overall supportive level, the last support, right? Price rejected from that area, we retested it a little bit, and then we gradually pushed away. Looking here at the daily time frame, we could say that we kind of in a range, but price has revisited these highs right here. So it's whether this is going to be maintained or we're going to see a push even higher, right? Which could be the case. If we're looking at the overall movement of price action, then this does seem like the more likely scenario to see price continue upwards, right? If we get a strong push above this level, then we could possibly see a continuation moving higher, right? That is for now. We do also have some USD news, right? So we need to be careful about the news coming out, which is that FOMC minutes and the Jolt shop opening, right? So FOMC minutes really being the more of a key looker and move over for the US dollar. So that is something that we need to pay attention to, that I'll be looking at moving forward. But in terms of overall direction, price action movement, that should give us a boost for a move continuing upwards, right? So that's all that I'm looking at right now. We could scroll through all these, we could see all the different pairs, all the different things going on, but it seems really unnecessary right now, right? We know that the AED risk assets really heavy right now. AED, NCD, those are the real key performers right now that prices move in, more so specifically the AED, right? So let's take a look here. Just reset this. So taking a look here on JPY, right? I am looking to buy into this right here if we get a push above these levels. So you can see price is kind of ranging right now. Given the overall movement that we did have from the yen currency, we saw that we were very sell heavy with the yen, right? So price really pushed the GBP down here. Continuing forward, however, right? Continuing forward, we could see a sort of a retest, sorry, a correction of this movement. So it's just a matter of when, right? Looking here, we saw that price did come down to this level. We kind of maintained that support. Let's just take a look right here. Right, so we had these two key areas right here, this lower level here, and then we have this sort of supportive level where price actually, retested into, right, not really the clearest level, but we can see that price retested into this. We had this strong bullish push above that level, and then we saw some bullish continuations from here, right? So this is why we, use this as a key point as price revisit this area, things that we could expect. Let me just reset this here, right? So continuing forward, something that I'd like to see, one of the possibilities I'd like to see here is a push above this area, and then we should see clean continuations moving upwards, right? We might actually just come into here. This is a rejected level, or we might see price actually gain some steam and continue even higher. This being the highest target level that I do have right now is this right here, around this area. All right, so hopefully that's clear about what I'm looking at. If you're now joining in, thank you for joining in, guys. We're gonna, excuse me, right? So this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking to see price actually push past this level, and again, if we do get a push above this level right here, then we should see a continuation even higher, right? So let's just look for the trade, right? If we take a trade, we can take impulse entries if we do see price actually, push higher right here during the next, coming to the candle close. If we could get a push above, then I'll take the trade and continue moving higher, right? So this is the trade idea for me. Yeah, this seems reasonable here. And it's possibly a trade you have to hold for some time, because as you can see, this is like a 260 pip move, right? Whether we have the volume to see that continue like in finishing a day, I'm not sure. I don't think we'll see that happening right away, especially given the fact that we're still struggling to break above this area. But if we do see that break, then I'll be very adamant on taking a buy right here to go upwards. So around right here is where I'm looking to enter the buy. I'll put my buy stops in order, right? And this is the trade that I'm looking at, right? This is the trade that I'm looking for to see potentially play out. So yeah, that's basically it. This is what I'm looking at, right? If we take a look here on the daily, we can see we have this nice rejection candle right here from this area, right, which just signifies that, okay, we are maintaining this as a support level. So maybe we could see some continuation movements from here, and even more so a correction move, right, even higher, right? We do have some news coming up which may impact the overall movement itself, but this seems like the more interesting thing that we could see from price, right? If we take a look here, and let's just take a look for this week. Right, besides the FOMC minutes, we also do have NFP this week. So that's the first NFP that we do have coming up for the year, right? The starting of this month. So that's something we also need to pay attention to, any volatility we can get from there. We also have jobless claims. I have some Fed speeches, nothing too important, right? Except for like maybe jobless claims. That's something that we could potentially see some movement from. Consumer confidence in the yen, could potentially see some movement from that. And we have some euro news, right? So euro inflation news is basically, this is the next sort of headliner that we are looking at. And this is on Friday, right? This is like 6 a.m. Yeah, around like 6 a.m. We also have CPI data for the euro as well, right? CPI is expected to be a little higher than the previous, so that should help to positively impact the euro. So you could potentially get a trade out of that as well. I won't be looking to take too many trades during Friday, as we do have NFP happening. That's something that you don't want to particularly get yourself involved in, especially at the starting of the new year, right? You want to give price some time to simmer down and decide on what it wants to do and the direction we should see from the Fed continuing on as well. So NFP, I expected to have, let's see, for NFP, we are expected to have a consensus lower than the previous. So this is the thing that we need to pay attention to, right? Because here the consensus is 200K. Now, if this 200K consensus, if the actual is higher than that, then that would be very positively influence the US dollar. So we could see a very strong spike to the upside in favor of the dollar. But if it does come lower or as expected, then that would lead into a push stronger to the downside, right? Negatively impacting the US dollar. Now, there's no way to tell really, because this is the start of the new year, so we don't have any fundamental data that we can go off on pertaining to what we could expect a higher probability of seeing this coming out as expected, lower or more. So we don't have any data to really support that, or at least I don't. So this just makes it a sort of a guessing game, which is why I will stay out of this NFP decision right now. Whatever comes out for NFP. Right, so just a little heads up into if you're thinking about trading NFP, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't. Right, okay, so price hit into the area here, should be in your buy positions. And just to let us play out, right? So we do have 20 minutes for the candle close here, so we'll see if we're able to close above into this area and then get some continuations higher, right? Yeah, we'll see what price decides to do. We should continue moving higher, but again, we do have some fundamental data that could affect or influence this movement. But given the overall look that we are seeing from the yen, excuse me, from the GBP yen, then we should see that continuation move, right? Same thing here for the AD USD and AD CAD. I was very adamant on taking buy setups on this, and Lord knows that when price did actually fall right here, we took the initial, we took this initial position here, and we actually looked for that buy position to continue on, right? And I could actually show you guys that if you're now joining in, thanks for joining in. So see the VIP trades here. Right, so you can see here that we had two entries, right? AD CAD. This was the second entry here that we had for the AD CAD. Right? You can see that was what the positions that we did take, and price was into this area right here. We did get rejected out of the area, but then you can see this nice continuation upwards. And the first position that we did have, which was a 1 to 9, I believe, right? If anybody held that, then they're sitting in some deep profits. I actually came out of the trade just to balance everything out because I did experience a loss on some stuff, right? So you can see here, this is trade management here, right? So we entered here with a more conservative risk, right? In profits, right now. So if prices rejects and pull lower, we could close out some profits and continue on. And here you can see that I closed DJ and AD card for now, secure the profits and look for better setups. Some underlying factors coming into play that may affect the price even more, right? Because we saw that pullback, which was during the US dollar, when the US dollar was experiencing that strength as market open. So that was something that I pay attention to, and saw some potentiality for price to actually pull even lower. But as you can see, we did start to range. Right at this point, we could have get back into the trade, right? We could have get back into the trade here, but it just didn't make no sense taking the, paying on the additional risk, right? We're now starting for the week, now starting for the year, so there's not really a need to be risking or taking overly risky trades. So that's why I opted to just come out, take this small win, and we just continue on to better stuff, right? And given the overall direction that we are seeing price moving out with the risk on sort of mood, it was expected to see price continue moving upwards, right? So when we saw this actual push here, this could have been a signal to actually enter to continue moving upwards. But I think this was like around probably 8 o'clock or something like that. And I've decided that this year, at least when it started, for the first 2 months, which is January and February, I want to trade. I want to change up my overall trading periods, right? Because I've never had a specific trading period, because I'm a very active person. I'm up almost all the time, and I spend a lot of time on my desktop, right? So the thing for me is I'm able to take trades whenever I see a trade setup. That's something I could do, but because I'm leading a group now, I need to adjust my times to fit the group's need, right? Which could to better facilitate that. So I am going to actually stick towards the New York session and the London session in between those areas, and the Sydney session and stuff like that, Tokyo session. We just have to put that on a back burner for now, and we'll see how that continues going forward, right? I'm testing this out to see if we get possible trade setups, how often, when rates, stuff like that, and whether it's beneficial or not, right? So thank you guys for joining. And if anybody have any questions, anything that they want to look at, hopefully everybody's hearing me clearly. Do I trade supply and demand? Well, supply and demand does have different meanings, right? Okay, not specifically meanings, but people call supply and demand support, resistance, right? Other people they have different names for it, but it's really all the same thing, right? The concept of it itself is the same thing, right? Look at that key areas where price comes into to look for either rejections, pullbacks, those sort of stuff, right? It's sort of the same thing. I do trade support, resistance. Never specifically looked at it in terms of supply and demand. But I would say yes, in some aspect of my trading, I do use supply and demand, right? Again, I don't specifically look at it as that. I just look at it as simple support, resistance, because you can really simplify trading as that, right? I'm looking at the fundamentals. As you guys know, I'm very fundamental heavy with my trading. I use the fundamentals to give me that edge to decide on better, figuring out the better probabilities of where price is going to move, expectations and stuff like that, right? But yeah, simply support, resistance, that's what I call it. That's how I learned it, from very simplistic. That is the foundation of any trading, really. And yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, I do use support, resistance. I used to use like Fibonacci, and even this Bollinger Band, this RSI Bollinger Band that you are seeing here, right? I used to use that. But I simplified my trading, and I found that it worked better once simplified. And yeah, I haven't had no quorums, no issues with it as yet. And it's been pretty beneficial. It's just a matter of having patience and understanding that not all trades are going to work in your favor, and having risk management. A proper risk management strategy does help and goes a long way, as that is the only thing that you do actually have control over, right? Markets can do anything, but how much you are willing to risk per trade, that's all up to you. That's entirely your choice, right? So hopefully that answers your questions. If anybody else have any questions, anything that you want to take a look at, then please feel free to request it. Do you get in at the pullback? Okay. Which pullback are you talking about? This pullback here on ADUSD, or are you talking about the GJ trade? We're talking about this one right here. If it's ADUSD that you're talking about, or if you're talking about pullbacks in general, there's a couple of things that I like to look at when I do look to enter specific trade setups, right? Take this for example right here in ADUSD, right? Your boy finally got to pay for the pro version, so we could do some replays right now. All right, I finally was able to get through to get to sort of pay for it. I don't know, it changed up like this. This is my first time using it since I paid for it just I think it was like in December 25th or something like that. So yeah, I this new controls look kind of fancy. Okay, but taking a look here, right? So the thing that I like to note, especially when it comes to like entering on pullback setups and stuff like that, is you have to recognize the key areas where price can reach into, right? Sorry. And fundamentally the factors that are affecting the price movement itself. Now the thing is here, for example, ADUSD and AD right? ADUSD, I did take a buy setup on this as well, but I don't particularly send, USD setups into the group, just because I do have a sort of a stigma around the US dollar itself, right? In terms of like manipulation, just the price action movements, as we sketchy sometimes, and it heavily impacted by just like, I would say, traders will, right? Or just, overall, like the markets just could heavily influence the US dollar, right? It being the main reserve currency, this is expected, which is why I opt to take more trades on stuff like maybe AD card, euro setups and stuff like that, because in terms of like manipulation wise, it's not as apparent as the US dollar, right? So hopefully that's understandable. But yeah, I did have a buy set up on this on the AD USD, right? Actually, let's look at the AD card, right? This might be a little more simplistic to understand, especially since I could just go back to the charts and show you guys the when we took the trades, right? Right. So price here was moving in an uptrend, right? So we see that clearly here on the daily time frame. We're seeing this strong upward movement here, right? We saw price came kind of consolidated into this area here. If we take a look back on the 4-hour, we can see that price gradually continue moving upward, right? So, and we were more in a risk on movement from last year, right? So in December month, we saw more of a risk on movement from price, and so this was more of a buy situation, right? Wasn't looking to particularly sell in this situation, right? Looking for buy setups to continue moving long and whatnot, right? So when to get into the setup, right? So one of the initial areas I was looking to get into was somewhere right around here, right? And you can see price pulled back, we came up, okay, we were looking good, and then boom, price just started to fall down here. Then we had another fall and then another fall, right? So at this point, what are we looking at, right? A lot of people will be looking to say, all right, okay, no, we have to sell now. Price just turned, it just reversed. No, it's sells that we're looking at for now, right? But fundamentally, right, this is where the fundamentals come to play. It gives you a more clearer bias on your positions, or why you're taking your positions, and why you should stay with that bias, right? Fundamentally, there wasn't a change in the bias itself, right? There wasn't a change fundamentally for this move downward, right? Now, it being the first official day of the trading week, of the trading year, we could expect to see them volume kick in. We could expect to see some correction movements, right, or some pullbacks, right? And this is exactly what that was. This was a very strong pullback in this direction, right? After we had such a weak CAD and weak US dollar, right? So that's one of the things that I noted. And I think I did say this here, right? I think you can see this in Discord somewhere. Let's take a look. All right, so here was the A card position, right? This is where we entered again on the initial. We entered the first initial setup right here as price rejected, right? When we got the rejection, entered here, then we revisited again, right? Price came back down, we revisited, right? And then we just put a buy stop, because if this again was rejected and maintained as a supportive area, then we could see the buyers actually step in, price reverse, and continue that movement upwards, right? And that's just plain price action data, price action movement, right? And understanding the fundamental factors that affected price. We were in a risk on sort of state, hence the move downwards. It shouldn't have lasted, right? It would have been noted as a pullback, right, on a larger time frame, because we had such a weak CAD and weak US dollar. It was within expectancy, at least for me, and with what I use for my trading plan. So it became very apparent to me that, okay, at this point, I'm not gonna be going with the crowd, going with the wave. These bunch of new traders who see this sell off are like, oh no, it's time to jump in for sell opportunities. Price just turn around without knowing, did price actually really turn around, or is it just price action being price action? Is there a fundamental reasoning for this? Which there was none. So that's why I noted if price was able to maintain the support, then we'll actually enter the trade and continue with the upside movement, right? And you can see price did actually do that right here. We secured around 3%, and I was looking for that continuation to actually continue, like, without any real sort of resistance. But we did get some resistance here. Price consolidated for a bit, and you saw after the market gap, right, which would have been like in the evening, 5 p.m., right? We saw that continuation afterwards, right, leading into this morning. But yeah, that's basically it, right? So we maintain that area as a supportive area, right? We got that rejection from this area, and this was like the next significant area within the upward movement that we were seeing, right? So this was the upward movement. Price broke from the supportive area right here, right? So if we break right here, then what are the other key areas that we could look at to see when price actually may show some sign of rejection for continuation, if this is just a pullback on the larger time frames, right? So this being one of the key areas here. And also if price did actually came lower, then we will just look from the starting of this sort of uptrend here, which would have been this area, right? So hopefully that answers your questions when you're entering pullbacks. Something also that you'll look at too is to see whether that supportive zone is maintained, right? So you could go down to lower time frames and see for yourself. Me personally, I don't always do that. Sometimes you could just denote whether this pullback is a area you could enter on, given the rejections that you do see from the area, right? So for example, here, strong rejection from this area, right? We have a nice green bullish candle. We have price rejection from this as well. So at here we could enter to go long or see those long continuations. And if you take a look here, maybe this will be more clear right here. Right, price rejected nicely from right into when price, as soon as it hit this area right here, rejected, right? And price continue moving upwards. So that is, you can see like price opened right here, pulled down, and then it rejected, right? Leaving this wick, and then we had this green candle body, right? And this is where I look to enter on the next candle, given that we could possibly see that continuation movement, right? Since we revisited back down here, this area just became more solidified for me, because if we get a rejection from here, then there shouldn't be an issue to see those continuation movements, right? So hopefully that answers your questions, how you get into the pullbacks, or at least how I specifically look at it, right? Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question in terms of like how do I note when to actually get in on the pullbacks, right? Again, very adamant on like what I do and like what I use. Fundamentals play a big part in my trading. I think it's like it could just clear up a lot of misconceptions, especially when you have wacky price action movements, right? If you understand the fundamental factors affecting price, then you can decide on an overall a general bias, and you can just wait for that bias to play out, right? Because you have your fundamental reasoning, so it's just a wait for price action to kind of align, and then you just continue moving on. And you can see price did its thing, revisited, rejected, continue moving up, came down here, rejected back, started consolidating here, right? Price broke out after the gap that we had, and then we continue moving upwards, and we even see a push even higher, and yeah, this is where we are now, right? So hopefully that answers your question in terms of like how do we get into the pullbacks. You just have to note whether that pullback is actually, you know, a pullback itself, right? If that supportive area is being maintained, you can take a look at the lower time frames and see what sort of price action movements you are seeing, right? Price came here, rejected. We had another retest, but as you can see, that got cleared up. So entered right back here, right after we had these green candles form, and then we saw that continuation move on, right? So hopefully that answers your question. And yeah, I do hope that was clear enough, right? And this is what I plan on teaching within the VIP, the fundamental data, how you use fundamentals, with your reasoning. And reasoning is not something you could give people, but really you could teach the core concepts and the theory behind it. And it's just a matter of implementing it in the live trading market situations, right? So as you continue moving on for the rest of the trading year, I'd like to, you know, those into the VIP to actually start implementing this sort of mindset with understanding the fundamental reasonings behind certain moves, and you know, probably get a notebook dedicated to it. Is better to write things like, you know, on physical paper rather than, you know, entering stuff on a computer in a Word or Excel or anything like that, because you retain the information a lot better, especially when you're doing like physical movements such as writing, right? So yeah, get a book dedicated to understanding fundamentals, and yeah, just denote at certain factors, certain things that you do see when it comes to fundamental, fundamentally impacting situations, such as, you know, look at that CPI, look at that jobless claims, unemployment changes, those kind of stuff, right? How it affects the price action movements, and whether you could have got into a possible trade given the data, right? Record those data points, and you could use it to predict, or at least draw some sort of predictability, right? The other fundamental key factors coming out in the future as well. That is something that we use for CPI as well as for interest rate decisions. Looking at stuff such as labor market change, unemployment, consumer spending, right? And also, I said employment change, consumer spending. Look at that, yeah, GDP and CPI data as well too, right? CPI is what comes out afterwards, but yeah, it gives you a clear general consensus as what to expect, right? And they note those changes, right? So if it's positive, such as unemployment change is good, right? Labor market is doing good. You look at Fed comments from these central bank policymakers, right? Whether they're very bearish or very bullish, their words have influence on the markets, as well as it gives you a sort of insight as to what they expect on key factors such as interest rate decisions, whether you see an increase, a decrease, no change, those sort of things, right? So that's where you could implement fundamentals, and it becomes like a very like the edge of edges, right? It's just a matter of knowing how to implement it and when to use it. So hopefully that helps, right? So thank you for joining the stream, guys. Do please leave a like and also subscribe as well. Help the stream out. This year I'm trying to get more people involved into the live streams as well as into the TrinFx group, right? Because we can really make a change here, and that's just something that I really want to do, help others. So yeah, that's please leave a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm go and recommend this out to other people. Alright, so we did close into the area right here, and we're now forming this this new hourly candle, right? So we had a close and sort of rejection from this right from inside the area itself. Going forward, I'm leaving it as is. Expect the C price to continue upwards. Excuse me. Alright, so if we manage to clear above here, then yeah, the continuation seems a more highly likely, right? We're just gonna leave and see what price does. I'll probably take profits around maybe like 3% in. I'll look to take profits, right? So 3% being like right around here, right? Yeah, so this is 3% right here. So maybe like 3% in, I'll look to actually exit the trade with some profits, right? Yeah, this is it. We'll see how this plays out. I'm not looking for anything in particular this week because, as I said, we do have some other things coming out, such as the NFP data. We also have the job openings data coming out as well. Sorry, and the FOMC, right? We have FOMC minutes as well, right? That is at, this is what, 3 o'clock? Yeah, true, right? So we also have this coming out as well. So we have a lot of impactful news that are coming out. Don't want to get too overly risky with any of the trade setups that we do enter, right? So yeah, this year AD CAD, if you could get a retest into this area, really nice for continuation movement upwards. And this is a key area that we are coming into here with, which is why we see in this sort of rejection, right? So that's something to note. Price could revisit from this area, but if we do get a push above, then that just gives more of a clear general bias as to where we could actually see price continue heading next, right? Which is all the way up here. Right, guys, so hopefully you found this stream informational and educational, and thank you for joining in. This is the first stream starting back. I am going to start back doing streams during 9 o'clock, between 9 and 10, which would be around the time the NYC market opens, right? Because daylight savings and whatnot. So 9 o'clock for me is actually 8 o'clock there, which is right around market open for them. So we'll be able to getting on the volume and see what goes on with price and any potential trade setups. Like I said, these are the only trading hours that I'm actually going to be trading for now. So yeah, just to make it easier on you guys, on like when you can expect to see me on the charts, right? So yeah, if anybody have any questions, feel free to ask. If not, then thank you for joining the stream. I really do appreciate it. And continuing forward, I'm planning to get a little more monitors and stuff like that to actually facilitate looking at the chart and the chat, sorry, and stuff like that. Right. So that's it. We'll see what happens with the GBP, right? And yeah, if you're looking for AD CAD setups, I would say if it revisits here, that's your best possibility to enter long. But if we do see a push pass above here, then you just wait for a closer retest to continue those long movement. All right, guys, thank you for joining in. Really love I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, see you next one, guys. Peace. And do have a great trading week, a great trading day, and don't rush anything, right? Let the trades come to you, and just be patient. Have some patience. It's just your first week. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.